Do you remember Thanksgiving from the old days? Back then, the table wasn't just about turkey and mashed potatoes. It was a colorful feast filled with dishes Grandma made with all her heart. The aroma of cornbread dressing filled the whole house, and that tomato aspic wobbling right in the middle of the table always made everyone excited. Those flavors used to be the soul of Thanksgiving, but now they've slowly disappeared over the years. Today, let's join me back in Grandma's kitchen and look back at the 25 Thanksgiving dishes that once made autumn so special. Roast goose. Before turkey took over Thanksgiving, roast goose once reigned on the American holiday table like a royal dish. This is a tradition that European immigrant families, especially German, Scandinavian, and British, brought across the Atlantic throughout the 1800s and early 1900s. Roast goose wasn't just a meal, it was a statement of prosperity. The goose was carefully cleaned by cooks, then pricked all over the skin with a fork to ensure the plentiful fat would render out, creating a crispy golden skin. Its cavity was stuffed with apples, onions, and sage leaves, then roasted for 3 to 4 hours at a moderate temperature. Periodically, Grandma would baste the goose with the golden fat dripping from it. This process not only made the goose meat tender and rich, but also created a valuable supply of goose fat, which was saved to fry potatoes or preserve food throughout the winter, demonstrating resourcefulness and thriftiness. Goose meat has a rich, natural flavor that turkey can hardly match, and serving this dish on the Thanksgiving table proclaimed that your family had made it in America while maintaining a noble old world culinary tradition. Cornbread dressing with giblet gravy. In Grandma's cozy kitchen, there was a special, unforgettable scent. That was the aroma of cornbread dressing spreading throughout the space filled with laughter and clinking sounds. The soul of this dish was always one-day-old skillet cornbread. The cornbread was crumbled by hand, just dry enough to soak up every drop of the homemade broth perfectly. What made this dish special wasn't just the blend of cornbread and herbs, but precisely the giblet gravy. Giblet gravy, made from the heart, neck, and liver, taken from the turkey, was diced and simmered for hours. This process transformed them into a silky, smooth sauce, rich in meaty and mineral flavors, completely different from ordinary smooth gravies. In home economics classes and church cookbooks, making giblet gravy was a rite of passage. It was clear proof that the cook knew how to utilize every part of the animal, demonstrating skill and resourcefulness in the kitchen. For a generation, cornbread dressing drenched in giblet gravy was the taste of belonging. It was often the first spoon on the plate, a dish whose recipe was passed down first in the family cookbook, a warm and deeply meaningful legacy. Cornish game hens with rice stuffing. In the 1960s and 1970s, as smaller nuclear families became common and the traditional turkey became too large, Cornish game hens with rice stuffing appeared on the Thanksgiving table. This was a refined alternative offering elegance with restaurant quality right at home. This dish was commercially developed in the 1950s, aiming to bring the ceremonial appeal of a whole roasted bird, but avoiding food waste, fitting well with the modern suburban pace of life. Each hen was considered an elegant individual serving stuffed with herbed rice pilaf. The rice pilaf was often mixed with mushrooms, almonds, and sometimes raisins or dried apricots, creating a richness of flavor. The hens were roasted at high temperature until the skin was perfectly crispy, with a cooking time of only about 45 minutes, very fast compared to a turkey. This dish symbolized Thanksgiving's shift from a massive feast to a more formal event, focusing on the individual and convenience while still retaining visual appeal. Do you still remember the aroma of this dish? If so, hit hype to bring this memory back to Thanksgiving once more. Creamed pearl onions. In the old kitchen, people often said that a bowl of creamed pearl onions was always a badge of honor for the home cook, because this dish required an incredible amount of effort and patience. The tiny snow-white onions, each one had to be meticulously peeled by hand. Grandmothers recalled that preparing 30 onions or more for each batch required no small amount of patience and a steady hand to peel each delicate layer. After peeling, the onions were blanched, then carefully simmered in a roux thickened with milk, creating a bechamel sauce that was cashmere soft. The subtle highlight, the thing that made this dish different, was a touch of freshly grated nutmeg stirred in just before serving. This dish of glistening onions and rich cream sauce carried the flavor of winter comfort. Although today, this dish rarely appears because few people have time for that complex peeling ritual, its existence and memory is still a tribute to the silent work. It's the meticulousness, patience, and skill that once defined the heart of our grandparents' Thanksgiving. Oyster dressing. For families living along the coast, oyster dressing was once the pride of Thanksgiving tables, a dish that brought the flavor of the sea straight to the heart of the holiday meal. Historically, from colonial times to the mid-1900s, oysters were abundant and affordable, and they had a deep connection with American holiday celebrations. This dish was the perfect blend of abundance and thrift, utilizing local seafood. The recipe was quite simple, but required a delicate balance. Chopped oysters, whether fresh or canned, were mixed thoroughly with cubes of day-old bread. The mixture was then moistened with turkey broth and seasoned with parsley and celery. When baked, the oysters would melt into the bread, providing a savory richness and a characteristic mineral complexity. This dressing offered a smooth texture, different from other drier stuffings. Coastal families believed that Thanksgiving wouldn't be complete without this dish. It was a reminder of a time when the flavor of the coast traveled hundreds of miles to participate in the harvest feast, connecting land and sea on the same table. Ratatouille. Somewhere between the familiar traditional casseroles and sweet potato soufflé, in the 1970s, a few bold home cooks snuck a touch of refined French flavor onto the Thanksgiving table, ratatouille. The rare and unexpected appearance of this dish was thanks to the era's fascination with international food magazines and the growing influence of chef Julia Child on the American kitchen. Ratatouille was a delightful contrast to casseroles using canned soup as it demanded freshness and sautéing technique. Eggplant, zucchini, and bell peppers played the main roles, cut into bite-sized pieces and simmered with tomatoes, onions, and a generous handful of herbs until everything blended together. This process created a silky, smooth, fragrant stew. Its vibrant color and slightly unfamiliar flavor made it a focal point. Amidst all the usual casseroles and gravies, ratatouille came to the party not just as a side dish. It was both a palate cleanser and a conversation starter. Its brief appearance on the holiday table was a quiet sign that Thanksgiving was open to a little culinary adventure, representing the new cultural openness of the later generation. Baked corn pudding. Baked corn pudding is a comforting golden yellow dish that often appeared in the middle of the Thanksgiving table and silently held its ground through decades. This dish wasn't flashy, but its simplicity offered pure comfort. The recipe calls for a combination of creamed corn, whole kernel corn, eggs, milk, melted butter, and just a touch of sugar to create a perfect balance between savory and sweet. The secret to corn pudding lies in the eggs, the essential binder that helps everything set. The dish was baked slowly until the center was set with a slight jiggle, creating a silky smooth pudding, almost like a dessert custard. Versions of this dish appeared in Betty Crocker's Hostess cookbooks and dozens of regional church cookbook collections, proving its widespread popularity. The soft, scoopable texture made this dish one of the few sides that fit perfectly with everything else on the plate. The gentle, uncontroversial warmth of corn pudding made it a favorite of both children and grandparents on the holiday. It brought a sense of safety and familiarity that a big holiday feast needs. Glazed carrots with brown sugar and butter. In the Thanksgivings of yore, glazed carrots with brown sugar and butter were once as reliable on the table as the oven timer. This was a simple dish, but it offered a moment of luxury without being overly fussy. Carrots were usually sliced into rounds or sticks, then simmered until just tender. The real magic happened on the stovetop, where butter and brown sugar were combined. These two ingredients melted together, bubbling into a glistening, shiny glaze, which then coated each slice of carrot with a sweet caramel layer. The cook's goal was always to achieve that perfect sheen, enough to catch the dining room light subtly. In the 1950s, sweet glazed vegetables were a quiet side dish, a way to tempt even the pickiest eaters. The soft, buttery sweetness of the glazed carrots was a moment of everyday luxury that Grandma wanted to give her children and grandchildren during the holiday. This dish proved that sometimes simplicity and attention to detail are all that's needed to make a wonderful feast. Ambrosia salad. Ambrosia salad was once celebrated as the 5-minute miracle that brought its heavenly name to the Thanksgiving table, especially popular in the South. The name Ambrosia originally means food of the gods, and this dish originated in the South in the late 1800s. Back then, citrus and coconut were expensive luxuries reserved only for special occasions like Christmas or Thanksgiving. Ambrosia salad is a combination of tropical fruits like canned mandarin oranges, pineapple, along with mini marshmallows and sweetened shredded coconut. Everything was gently mixed with sour cream or rich whipped cream, then chilled overnight for the flavors to meld. This dish had a chaotic but joyful texture: chewy coconut, soft marshmallows, and juicy fruit, making it beloved by children. Ambrosia salad truly blurred the lines between salad and dessert. Its vibrant and sweet presence on the table not only brought joy, but also represented Southern hospitality and celebration during the holiday. Molded cranberry salad. Among the strange but beautiful dishes of the mid-century era, nothing created a holiday spectacle quite like the shimmering molded cranberry salad in the center of the table. This wasn't the usual cranberry sauce. It was an artistic blend of gelatin and fruit. Whole berry cranberry sauce, often the convenient canned variety, was mixed with crushed pineapple and chopped pecans. The mixture was then poured into an elaborate ring mold and chilled overnight. When unmolded, the salad had the perfect wobble, after which a ring of sweet cream cheese and whipped cream would be piped on top. Women's magazines in the 1960s and 1970s once called this dish the housewife's secret weapon because it was designed to make a strong visual impression with its shine and structure. Each slice offered a satisfying crunch of pecans mixed with the creamy layer and a balanced sweet tart flavor. This dish was pure mid-century showmanship, combining the sophistication of molding with the traditional flavor of cranberries for Thanksgiving. Irish mashed potatoes. Irish mashed potatoes, or colcannon, is a dish that brought the taste of the old country to the American Thanksgiving table, especially in neighborhoods where family roots ran deep. It was a small tribute to immigrant ingenuity and a reminder of where the family started. The basic recipe starts with a mountain of buttery potatoes mashed until smooth. However, the secret to turning it into colcannon is sautéed cabbage or kale. These greens are softened in a pan with a knob of butter, giving the dish its characteristic green streaks and a subtle, earthy flavor. This dish offered a combination of rich potatoes and softly sweet cabbage, making it both hearty and bright. Colcannon was an excellent choice for Thanksgiving, providing a feeling of warmth and fullness, yet having a slightly different flavor profile compared to traditional American mashed potatoes. It was passed down from generation to generation in Irish American communities, from Boston to Chicago. This colcannon evokes memories of simple but warm childhood meals. Tomato aspic. Tomato aspic is one of the most visually striking dishes on the mid-century Thanksgiving table. People often said, nothing compared to the sight of a clear, shimmering red tower, perfectly wobbling on your grandmother's best china. This savory jelly represented culinary sophistication and modern domestic skills from the 1920s to the 1960s. Serving tomato aspic proved that the homemaker owned the appropriate mold, had refrigerator space, and patience. This complex recipe required dissolving unflavored gelatin in tomato juice, then seasoning it with celery salt, Worcestershire sauce, lemon juice, and especially horseradish. For a pungent kick, the mixture was poured into elaborate ring molds, sometimes even embedding pieces of celery, olives, or cream cheese balls inside to add color and texture. This dish had a texture that was both firm and soft, with a bright tomato flavor cut by bold spices, serving as a salad or a cold appetizer. Tomato aspic signaled domestic finesse, an artistic display on the Thanksgiving table that is almost forgotten today. Pineapple cheese salad. Pineapple cheese salad was a strange but beloved dish, demonstrating the 1950s obsession with combining sweet fruit and savory dairy in a wobbly gelatin matrix. This dish represented post-war prosperity, when exotic canned fruits and convenient gelatin mixes made homemakers feel international and modern. The recipe was quite bold. Crushed pineapple and shredded cheddar cheese were suspended artfully in lemon or lime jello. When the ingredients were chilled in the ring mold, they created an odd contrast, combining the sweetness of the pineapple and the savory, creamy flavor of the cheese. This salad completely disrupted taste categories with a combination of bouncy gelatin, crisp cheese strands, and soft pineapple pieces. Although to modern palates, this combination may seem unusual, pineapple cheese salad was extremely popular at holiday dinners throughout the Eisenhower era. It showcased creativity and entertaining and the joy of using new packaged ingredients. Cranberry rings from the can. Cranberry rings from the can is one of the most deeply nostalgic side dishes, a blend of fondness and gentle humor. The ritual of preparing this dish always began with a careful can opening, followed by the slow slide as the cranberry sauce emerged onto the plate. What was special was that this cylinder still bore the ridges from the tin mold like a badge of honor. These grooves were actually built-in slicing guides, helping Grandma cut it into perfect round slices. This dish was one of the most convenient shortcuts of the mid-century era, when magazine advertisements in the 1960s and 1970s promised holiday magic in minutes, no cooking, no fuss. This smooth ruby red cylinder is classic, and many grandmothers would arrange the slices in a perfect spiral on the plate. Although many people switch to making fresh cranberry sauce today, the cheerful wobbling presence of those canned sauce rings is still a reminder of a time when even the simplest shortcut could feel festive and an indispensable part of Thanksgiving. If this video brings back memories, please hit like and subscribe to the channel so you can join us for more trips down memory lane. Rutabaga mash. Rutabaga mash was once a silent symbol of thrift and resourcefulness on the Thanksgiving table. This dish was popular across the Midwest and in farming communities, where rutabagas were a hardy and readily available crop. In Great Depression-era recipe cards, this dish was specifically praised for its ability to stretch a meal and add nutrients at low cost. The recipe starts with boiling the bumpy, yellow-fleshed rutabagas until they are tender. Once mashed, they are mixed with generous chunks of butter and a touch of cream, similar to mashed potatoes. However, rutabagas offered a subtle bitterness and a deep, earthy note, distinct from the neutral flavor of potatoes. This dish had a rustic and authentic flavor, a culinary inheritance from the previous generation. For older folks who remember, that was the taste of perseverance. It was a tribute to resourceful cooks who found comfort and fullness in every corner of the root cellar, an important value on the harvest holiday. Broccoli rice, casserole with cheese whiz. Broccoli rice casserole with cheese whiz is the unashamed symbol of the mid-century convenience food era. This dish almost became a badge of modernity, celebrating the capabilities of food labs. This recipe didn't require high culinary skills, but simply combined canned and processed ingredients. Frozen broccoli was combined with cooked rice and a jar of cheese whiz, the unmistakable neon orange processed cheese. All ingredients were stirred together, poured into a baking dish, and baked until the whole thing bubbled and melted out like edible lava. The recipe was pure pragmatism. existing thanks to the bold optimism of food companies like Kraft. They promised a side dish that never failed, perfect for homemakers who wanted to free up time from the kitchen. Although today, this casserole might be mocked for having too much processed cheese, it remains a part of the memory of the rich flavor and groundbreaking convenience of that era. Jellied Waldorf salad. Jellied Waldorf salad is a prime example of the molded sophistication of the 1960s. This centerpiece looked so impressive it could stop a conversation when brought to the table. Demonstrating Grandma's mastery of molds and gelatin, women's magazines hailed this dish as elegant and the jewel of holiday parties. The recipe is a twist on the classic Waldorf salad: crisp apples, chopped celery, and toasted walnuts. These ingredients were artfully suspended in a layer of sparkling lemon or orange jello. The mixture was poured into clear molds so that every layer was clearly and attractively displayed. When unmolded, the Jellied Waldorf salad would have a satisfying wobble, and each slice revealed a cross-section of fruit and nuts, creating a sweet and cool contrast to the heavier dishes nearby. For a generation, this dish was the pinnacle of domestic sophistication and creativity, a dish that was both playful and proud to be served on Thanksgiving. Squash casserole with a Ritz cracker topping. Squash casserole with a Ritz cracker topping is the golden child of mid-century holiday tables, especially loved for the perfect combination of soft and crispy textures. This recipe was once praised in Betty Crockett's Hostess cookbooks for its ability to please a crowd. Sliced yellow squash was mixed with fragrant sautéed onions, sour cream, or rich milk to create a soft, warm filling. The touch that made the difference was the crust. A sleeve of Ritz crackers was crushed by hand and mixed with melted butter and then spread evenly over the casserole. When baked in the oven, this topping would crisp up, turning into a golden, salty, buttery blanket. That's the taste of pure nostalgia straight from Grandma's kitchen, with tender squash beneath the crumbly, buttery crust. This cracker-topped casserole was the sign of a resourceful home cook, one who knew how to turn simple ingredients into a side dish that promised both comfort and a bit of showmanship for the holiday feast. Spoon bread. Spoon bread is a Southern culinary showpiece, a dish that demanded both the cook's confidence and time. It is a unique combination, part soufflé and part comfort food. The recipe starts with simmering cornmeal with milk and butter until thickened. The most important part came next. Softly beaten egg whites were gently folded into the cornmeal mixture. If successful, the spoon bread would puff up in the oven, turning golden and airy like a cloud. It had to be served straight from the baking dish with a large spoon, never sliced. Right before it had a chance to fall, Southern church cookbooks and family recipe cards held this secret, emphasizing the importance of serving it hot. Spoon bread was a Thanksgiving legend thanks to its perfect soufflé texture. It was a warm, buttery dish, and when you bit into it, you could feel the meticulousness and love that Grandma had put in to ensure this bread reached peak lightness. Brussels sprouts with chestnuts and bacon. Among the vegetable dishes, Brussels sprouts with chestnuts and bacon once brought a touch of continental essence to our Thanksgiving table. This dish is a classic blend of savory, fatty, and sweet flavors. The Brussels sprouts were carefully pan-fried until just crisp tender, retaining the vegetable's freshness. They were mixed with diced bacon, which provided a savory smoked flavor. The precious highlight was the roasted, peeled, and chopped chestnuts. After the American chestnut blight wiped out the native trees, imported chestnuts became an expensive seasonal treat, often reserved for the holidays. Chestnuts added a distinctive rich sweetness, transforming the side dish into a special occasion meal. This dish is the flavor of classic elegance, a tribute to the French and Italian traditions that Grandma's generation learned and adopted. This classic trio provided warmth, richness, and smokiness, creating a perfect balance on the plate, worthy of a major holiday. Creamed spinach with nutmeg. Creamed spinach with nutmeg is the dish that brought a touch of continental elegance, making the Thanksgiving table feel a little bit like a fancy restaurant. This dish was a refined alternative to simple greens that food magazines praised in the 1950s and 1960s. The secret to the dish's success lies in the bechamel sauce, butter, and flour were whisked together, then slowly blended with milk until the sauce turned glossy and thick. After the spinach was carefully drained, it was mixed into the sauce, and the cook had to add just a pinch of freshly grated nutmeg. Nutmeg is the crucial element, as it brought a characteristic warmth and aroma, highlighting the rich creaminess. The gentle smell of nutmeg rising from this creamy casserole still means Thanksgiving. The dish is a quiet reminder of the days when even vegetables were dressed in their best to participate in the feast. These dishes represent the meticulousness and effort of our grandparents' generation. Do you remember any dish that your grandma made with similar meticulousness? Share your story in the comments below. Baked apples with brown sugar and cinnamon. Baked apples with brown sugar and cinnamon is one of the simplest dishes, yet it brought the aroma of autumn right into the middle of Thanksgiving. This dish is as old as the farmhouse kitchen itself. Crisp apples were carefully cored, and each cavity was filled with brown sugar, a knob of butter, and a thick layer of cinnamon. When slow baked, the apples softened, and their juices blended with the sugar and spices, bubbling and caramelizing into a warm syrup. The aroma from this dish spread throughout the house, a promise of warmth and comfort that no scented candle could ever match. This baked apple dish was the perfect contrast to the other salty, rich dishes on the table. The slight tartness of the apple, combined with the warmth of the cinnamon, created a flavor that made one feel comforted and relaxed. Nothing else can capture the spirit of a holiday kitchen like the sweet, spicy scent of apples and cinnamon evaporating into the November air. Sweet potato soufflé with marshmallow topping. Sweet potato soufflé with marshmallow topping is a dish that became the spark for an annual family debate during Thanksgiving. Was this dish too sweet and modern, or was it an indispensable tradition? The recipe itself is a marvel of mid-century optimism, combining a traditional vegetable with the convenience and playfulness of marshmallows. Sweet potatoes were mashed until smooth with brown sugar, butter, and vanilla. Then it was puffed up from whipped eggs until frothy like a soufflé. The mixture was then poured into a dish and covered with a pillow-soft layer of marshmallows. Many home cooks swore by the broiler, watching through the oven door for the perfect moment when the marshmallows puffed up and turned golden, just barely scorched. Although some older folks disliked the excessive sweetness, this dish remains an icon, proving that sometimes a little controversy is the secret ingredient of family holiday tradition. Baked macaroni and tomatoes. Baked macaroni and tomatoes is the side dish that made mid-century Thanksgiving feasts feel abundant and hearty. It appeared in Betty Crocker pamphlets and family recipes. This dish promised a hearty, budget-friendly alternative to potatoes or rice. The recipe starts with al dente macaroni mixed with stewed tomatoes, chopped onions, and sometimes a sprinkle of sharp cheddar cheese. Canned tomatoes were the main ingredient, used as a way to stretch ingredients when fresh vegetables were scarce. This dish was then baked in a Pyrex dish until the edges bubbled and the top turned golden. The kitchen was filled with the gentle tartness of tomatoes and the fragrant smell of baked starch. Baked macaroni and tomatoes is a reminder of a time when variety meant more than just cheese, and it was Grandma's way of ensuring no one left the table hungry. It is a comforting dish, simple yet highly effective in nourishing the whole family. Baked acorn squash with maple syrup. Baked acorn squash with maple syrup is autumn on a plate, making the Thanksgiving table feel like a traditional harvest celebration. This is a highly rustic and intuitive dish. Each acorn squash was halved, seeded, and then the empty shell became a personal serving bowl for everyone. A pat of butter and a slow drizzle of real maple syrup were poured into each cavity, melting down to the bottom. When baked, the squash softened and soaked up the rich maple syrup. Maple syrup often came in glass jars from New England or local farm stands, offering the authentic taste of autumn. This dish is a rustic reminder that Thanksgiving started as a harvest feast. These golden boats were a symbol of abundance and beautiful simplicity, and as much a part of the celebration as the turkey itself. Rice and mushroom casserole. Rice and mushroom casserole is the silent workhorse of the convenience era, a dish built for busy cooks and crowded tables. This dish was a modern solution promoted by Campbell and Betty Crocker. For hostesses who wanted to impress without the hassle, the recipe starts with partially cooked rice, then mixed with a can of condensed cream of mushroom soup. This combination provided a creamy texture and a subtle, earthy flavor. The mixture was then poured into a Pyrex dish, topped with fried onions for crunch. This casserole could be prepared ahead of time, allowing Grandma to save time on the big holiday to focus on the turkey. For a generation, this was the flavor of ingenuity and the comfort of knowing that dinner was handled even if the turkey took all day. Although it has disappeared from modern tables, it still represents the convenience and warmth of family meals from that period. We have seen that the Thanksgiving table of the past was much richer, more varied, and full of stories than it is today. These simple recipes are not just forgotten dishes. They are a quiet reminder of a bygone era. Regardless of how culinary trends change, sharing food remains the heart of Thanksgiving. These dishes are not just memories, but also a cultural legacy. Share which dish on this list brings back the deepest memories for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue our journey of nostalgia for forgotten American historical and cultural values.